And so we continue our elections coverage, and I'm in conversation now with Dr Lubna Nadvi. She's a political analyst. A very good afternoon, Ms. Nadvi. Thank you very much for joining us. So we've heard time and time again about voter apathy, but what's been your sense about the discourse around elections this year? Do you think it's been greater? Do you think that there's a bigger appetite this year to vote, to try and change things? And how critical do you think the youth vote is going to be on this occasion?
Good afternoon. Yeah, no, I think that this year there is a distinct change in terms of voters' participation or people going to register to vote. I think that the apathy that we've seen historically has shifted quite dramatically, and what we're seeing is, particularly amongst the youth, a desire to actually be involved, to participate, and to cast, their vote and be involved, particularly in the lead up to the elections. So I think this year we can see there's been a change in the number of people who have actually registered to vote. The youth have been involved, and so the sense that I get is that there's definitely a greater interest. And as some people have said, that 2024 is their 1994, and so that is the sense that we're all getting, that people are involved and engaged to participate in this year's elections.
Yeah. Now, Doctor, you're in KZN right now, and of course you're well located and have a sense of what's going on. So a number of parties chose KZN as the place to launch their manifestos. I mean, it's been a very serious battleground for parties in this year's campaigning. Can there be an outright winner in KZN, do you think, especially with the MK now in the mix?
Well, I think that depends. I mean, there's been a lot of predictions that have been going around. There have been a lot of polls that have been done. The predictions seem to indicate that MK has something of, an advantage, but only time will tell. In terms of there being an outright winner, the ANC has historically had the majority vote, and this year there are predictions that it will drop in terms of its support. So it's very difficult to say at this point. It's in all likelihood going to be a situation where there will be a coalition government in the KZN region this year. But it's very hard to say exactly how much, what the percentage of the support is going to be for the ANC, for the MK, for the DA, or any of the other parties. So in all likelihood, only time will tell, and we can only say for sure once the results have come in. But I think that KZN is a very highly contested territory, particularly because it is the second highest in terms of voters, the voter numbers, and also because it is a province where there's a highly sought after demographic in terms of the urban vote, the Zulu demographic, the rural vote. So all parties are looking for voters from KZN to support them, and I think it will be a highly contested region this year.
Yeah. So if coalitions end up being the order of the day, what parties do you think could work really well together? And who do you think absolutely wouldn't gel at all? Do you think that there is a level of maturity there to realize that this is how it is, and so we have to make this thing work in order to render services to the community?
Well, if we look at what has been happening in coalitions, particularly in many of the municipalities, we've seen how those coalitions have often fallen apart. And so it is troubling because many of these parties, they might start out working well with each other, but then they tend to fall out and the relationship, declines. So if there is a situation of coalition, usually the ANC would get the largest number of votes, and then it would have to seek coalition partners in order to govern. So I think that the ANC has been in government for 30 years. It has a degree of maturity in terms of understanding that it has to work together with other parties. In terms of which parties will work with each other, well, there have been parties that have already declared that there are others that they will not work with. And so we'll have to wait to see if that changes. At the end of the day, it's all about being pragmatic. If you are voted into office and you have to govern, you have a responsibility to the voters and to the electorate to ensure that you do what you have been, elected to do. And I think at the end of the day, we will see that the coalition at hopefully provincial and national level, if there are coalitions, will work better than they have worked at municipalities. But again, as I said, only time will tell. And I'm hoping that sense and maturity will prevail in terms of the election results and how the parties behave once the elections have come in.
Yeah. So how successful do you think independents will be in the province? And presumably they'd be offering a very localized offering to their given communities.
I think that the entry of independents into the elections this year is really a very important shift and development in our politics. It indicates that we are moving towards a more direct form of democracy where people can vote for an individual that they feel appeals to them and that has the kind of policies that they're looking for. So I think that certainly independents do play a very important role, because it's the first time that they have entered the national and provincial election sort of race. Again, we will have to wait and see how they perform, but certainly they speak to their local electorates. And so because of the way in which the system is set up, the independent candidates will be representing largely regional voters, and hopefully they will actually be able to play their part in terms of ensuring that our democracy advances, and that once election results have come in, that there is a functioning democracy, and they are able to play their part. How it will all work will only depend on once all of the election results have come in.
True. Thank you so much, Dr. Lubna Nadvi. She's a political analyst. Thank you very much for joining us.